to say that it has been estimated that there are more than 8,000 properties across the borough that are at risk, not from the Thames, but from surface water runoff. So I would urge everyone here, actually, all residents and those working in the borough, just to have a look at the maps that go along with this to see whether or not they might be at risk. I guess the main question here this evening is, what are we doing? For example, we are putting aside £300,000 for measures to reduce the risk of flooding to about 300 homes in Stamford Hope, and we're working to find ways of helping people to protect themselves in times of flood. New developments will have to have flooding issues at their very heart. The Gloriana development in Tilbury down at St Chad's really springs to mind here, where the whole scheme has been developed and designed to alleviate the risk of flooding. Also in Tilbury, we're working to produce a computer model of the whole drainage system there so that we can increase the chances of successfully bidding for funding to improve the infrastructure in and around the town. What has become clear in recent years, and especially in recent weeks, is that preventing flooding is not a cheap thing to do. But what has become equally clear is that not doing enough is even more expensive in the long run. What surprises me, actually, is that what we're agreeing tonight is Thurrock's first local flood risk management strategy. Now, we've seen the effects of intense rainfall in communities across the north in recent weeks, and that alone means that we, that's everybody living in the borough, should take this seriously. We should look at the risks. We should see what measures we can take to reduce those risks and work with the council, with our partners, to minimise the risks as far as is possible. With that, I'll stop for questions and comments and stop flooding. Put simply, if a foot of rain falls in a day, then you're going to have a flood. However, that doesn't mean that we should do nothing about it, and this report does set out some of the work that's being done. For instance, in Stamford Hope, to reduce flooding risks, we will be spending £300,000. In addition, we're looking at the situation in Tilbury and what can be done there too. And of course, we'd like to do more, as with the councils in the North West, the North East and Scotland, where homes and business have been overwhelmed by floodwater recently. They all make the same point, that this needs more central government investment, and I can only reiterate that point. This report does highlight the risks, so people affected should be aware and prepare as far as possible. It does outline the high priority areas where we're taking action. But I have to take it from Councillor Norton's question that he thinks more should be done. And actually, I would agree with that. So I would suggest that Councillor Halpin joins with us in pressuring his party colleagues in government to do more by increasing financial support here and across the country.
Since the strategy was published, I think it's got to be cleaner and safer for planning transport regeneration. Probably the largest cabinet report I've seen for quite a while. Huge amount of detail. I think all members deserve the opportunity to debate in the committee. Certainly I was alarmed when I saw my homesteads had 3,500 properties outlined in the polls. And it just makes me curious that if we had a proper discussion in the committee about it, perhaps we could explore issues. For example, our colleagues on Canvey Island, unfortunately, because of circumstance, become quite experts when it comes to flood mitigation, and perhaps they can offer some insight into some sort of peer review.
Well, I'm quite happy for scrutiny to look at the strategy and make any recommendations, and I'm quite happy to move that as a third recommendation on point 3 that we refer to scrutiny. What we can't afford to do is wait and not agree recommendations on point 1 and point 2. With that, I will open up to Kay.
It does tackle some of the problems that we face in Tilbury over flooding. Anybody that lives in Tilbury or has got a relative that lives in Tilbury will realise that we only have to have a little bit of rain and our gardens turn to rice fields pretty much. They stay like that all winter. Once we get rain, our gardens, our back gardens are just soaking wet, front gardens. And we haven't had a lot of rain. You know, it's fair to say we've not had a bad winter. So you'd be surprised to hear that I had sandbags dropped off at people's houses last week, just for the bit of rain that we have had. That is how much we can't take rain, you know, and so anything that can be done to alleviate, you know, the pressure on the drains, get any new drains replaced, make sure that all of the ditches surrounding Tilbury are emptied on a regular basis, and I know that that was done, and since that was done I've not had those 3 particular streets contact me, but Tuesday night I'm going to a house that has been flooded, you know, not because the water's running in, but because literally the water comes up from underneath, because Tilbury houses are built on rafters, you know. So 2 years ago my house was fine, two houses along we had to move her out while we got rid of the water that a living room was swimming in. So it really is a hit and miss in Tilbury, and anything that we can do to tackle that, you know, I absolutely welcome it, and I'm sure that my residents will too. So thanks for any work there. And I think it was a really interesting report, and I didn't read all of it, John, but I did read lots of it.
We understand where the drainage issues are, and that will give us a good basis of information and evidence that we'll use when it comes to bidding for extra money for necessary flood defences. Any further questions or comments?